Hi, and welcome to a Meeples on Meeples How to Play video. This week we are doing Keyflower. It's a worker placement Euro style game, and normally we do our How to Play as a section within the review, but this one's pretty in-depth, so we're going to do them as two separate videos. If you like what you see here, be sure to check in later for our review so you can see our thoughts, strategies, final scores, etc. What you see here is a layout for a 3-player game. This game is played over 4 rounds, and each round you're going to be bidding for some tiles, which are laid out. You lay out 7 tiles for a 3-player game. And the first round starts with spring. That's the little leaf there. And at the end of spring, you'll play another round with new tiles will come out for summer, then fall, and then finally there's a winter phase. The setup is pretty basic. Up here, you've got your tiles, and those are going to be picked at random. Whenever you get one, they're laid out face down, and you draw one at random, and they have special abilities, let you upgrade your tiles, you spend them on various things, etc. You have the green meeples over here. The green meeples act as workers, but they're a little harder to get, which makes them extra valuable, and we'll explain more about that in a moment. You've got the typical brown wood pieces. You can gather wood. The gray is stone. The black is iron, and then the gold is the yellow. And the gold is nice because it acts as a wild that can be any of these other 3 types. Over here you have the places where you bid for a turn order, and then down here you have boats. Every round, at least for spring, summer, and fall, boats will come bringing more workers for you to get for the next phase of the game. In winter, workers do not arrive. And then, like I said, you've got 7 tiles laid out randomly. There are more than 7 per season, but they're laid out randomly so that every game will be played out a little bit differently. You will receive a blind. It looks like a neat little house. The cool thing is they're all different and unique from each other. It plays up to 6 players. This is where you're going to hide the meeples and these tokens up here that you get so that nobody else can see them. And then you get your start player, your home they call it. And this is the hex that you're going to build off to add to your village. Finally, for setup, you're going to draw from this bag, and you draw 8 meeples at random. There are 3 colors in here. There's red, yellow, and blue. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I drew 8 out randomly. I don't let anybody else see those. I put them behind my blind. And then I'll lastly get, in a 3-player game, I would get 3 winter tiles that I will also put face down and hide from other players, and that doesn't come until the end of the game. Now let's take a closer look at the tiles themselves. These 7 here are where most of the action is going to take place in the first round. The layout of the tiles is simple. You've got the symbol for what season it comes in, so the leaf is spring. The top big box, you have the name of the tile you're getting. The top big box is what you will get if you put a worker on here. It's a worker placement game, so if you put a meeple on here, you would get 1 wood. The arrow pointing down shows what it takes to upgrade this tile. This, if it's a square, then that means that double saw thing is one of those tiles way over there that you can get later in the game. And if you spend that, you can flip this over, and you'll see that key wood will then give you 3. And that's what this bottom box here shows. The bottom box shows so you don't have to flip it over if you have stuff on it. You'll know what it will give you if you flip it over. When this gets upgraded, it gives me 3 wood instead of 1 wood when a worker's placed here, but it's also going to be worth 3 victory points. Which, sure enough, there's that yellow circle up there. But again, that's only if it gets upgraded. So that's the layout. They'll show you what they give you, what it costs to upgrade, and what's on the flip side, and if it's worth any bonus points, etc. at the end of the game. Now there's 2 places I can put workers on any of these 7. On my turn, I can choose any color meeple I want. See, in most games, one person is the blue player, one's the yellow, one's the red. No. You draw them at random, and you keep your hidden secretly behind your blind. So I've got several meeples. On my turn, I can choose to place a meeple on there, and I get that action like I just explained. If I put him here, I get 1 wood. That wood then immediately comes out of here, and it goes onto my home tile that I showed you a moment ago. If I put it here, I can then take a yellow, if I have one behind my blind, put a yellow meeple back in the bag, and I can take one of the green meeples, and that's usually how you get the green meeple, so I'll explain that more. This, I can put a meeple here, that'll give me stone. Unlike most worker placement games, once a place has been used, it's not used up and worthless for the round. If I put a guy on here, the next person has to just put one more than me. They would have to put 2 meeples, and then they can use the same action on their turn. But, and this is the interesting part, I have dictated the color that has to be used on this hex now. To use Keywood, they have to play blue. So if you kind of get the feel for somebody, for the other players, that they don't have blue, I can put blue there, maybe nobody else can play there. If somebody else does want to play there, on their turn, they could put 2 blue together like that. And then they would still only get 1 wood though. A third person can use the action. They would have to put 3 blue on there, and they would also get 1 wood. Once there are 6 on here, it is used up. You cannot have more than 6 meeples. So you can dictate by color and hopefully block people out if they don't have that color, but you can also do this. On my turn, let's say I didn't want anybody else to be able to get a green worker because they're pretty valuable in the game. I could just go, boom. I put 3. I can then trade a yellow from behind my blind if I have it. I take one of these greens and put it behind my blind, and in place of the yellow that I just got rid of. And now the next player would have to play 1 more than me. They'd have to put 4 on there, but like I just said, you can't have more than 6 on a hex. So now nobody else can use that, and I've basically kind of, yes, I used a lot of my workers up since I only start with 8, but I have essentially blocked them from getting a valuable resource in the game. So there's a lot of strategy that way. The other thing that you can do is you can bid to basically buy and take the hex at the end of the round, add it to your village, and you connect it to your home hexagon that I showed you earlier. To bid, you put a meeple along the edge closest to you. So if I put that there, I'm bidding blue. Same rule applies. If anybody else wants to bid, they put their meeples on the edge closest. If a player was playing across from me and they wanted this, they would have to bid 1 more than me. They would have to use the same color and put 2 blue on their side of the hex. So I know I bid 1, the player across from me bid 2. If there was somebody sitting to the left of me, they'd put theirs along one of these sides. So technically, you can that's how you have a 6-player game, and you all have the same color meeples. I can then try to outbid them later if I want. I can use that meeple for something else, etc. But the same color rule applies. Now, that also applies if somebody wanted to use this after we were bidding on it. Blue is dictated to this, so they would have to bid with blue. So once a color is put either on it or bid around it, that is the only color that can be used for that round. So the color mechanism is really unique and interesting, but it's also very powerful in controlling who can possibly use and bid on a tile. Now, let's say I really want Keywood in my village, so I have to outbid them by at least 1, so I add 2, so I am now bidding 3 against their 2. And then when it gets back to them later on, they decide it's just not worth it. They can take these guys off and put them somewhere else as long as blue is playable on that hex. But these cannot be split up. Once they take them from here, they have to put them here. Even though technically you only have to put 1 worker on something to do an action, they have to keep those 2 together. So if they want to bid on another tile, they put it along their side, but they have to keep those 2 together. They can add to them if they want, but they can't separate those 2. And they can't go back behind their blind. They have to go towards a use, using a tile or bidding on a tile. There's another type of tile you can bid on for player order, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But at the end of the round, a round ends, by the way, when all players pass in order. Let's say I'm not sure if I can do anything else, and I say pass, then the next player still takes a turn, and then the next third player takes a turn, it comes back to me. I can come back into the game. But once I say pass, 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 everybody's passed, all 3 players, 3 in a row, the round ends. Here's what you do with all of the meeples out there. There will be meeples of various colors on all of the different pieces, but the gist of it is, I won Keywood with those 3 meeples I bid earlier. So I take the winning bid, and I put it back in the black bag. If somebody happened to have a losing bid still on here somewhere, that was less than 3, and they just forgot to move them, or they couldn't find another use for them because the color didn't work out somewhere else, they would get those back to their hand behind their blind. So they would get to keep the losing bids. Winning bids, lost, put back in the draw bag. Losing bids go back to the player who bid them. Then, since I won it, I would take this, and I get to keep all those workers. So that is how you get more workers. Those 3 workers would go behind my blind, and I'd put it in a pile next to my home. And I would also take any others I won. And then when everybody had put back the winning bids in the draw bag, taken back their losing bids, and then picked up and collected all of their workers and hexes, we would be ready to start building our town. Well, not quite yet, sorry. We still have to bid on turn order. While we were bidding on those other things, we could have also been bidding on these 2 tiles. And they go in order. This one goes first, this one goes second. What you're doing here is you're basically bidding on the order to choose the meeples who arrived on the ship. So you get more meeples, you get to pick which ship you want. And then possibly, if the purple meeple's on here, you're bidding to also get the first player marker, so you can be the first player for the next round. So let's say I had bid yellow on here, nobody else bid. And let's say somebody bid red over here and got that. Okay, at the end of the round, this person is the first player to look at the boats that are full of meeples, and they get to choose which boat they want to collect those meeples and put them behind their blind. So you have any meeples you never spent. You have all the meeples that you collected off the hexes that you won. Those workers are added. Plus, you get first dibs on the boats. And the boats are just randomly filled before the round. So you get to see which one has the colors you might want, and you take all the meeples off of that quote-unquote boat, but the boat sits out for the next round to be refilled. Then this person would go, they would get second choice, and then the third player would get the final choice after that. However, if nobody bid on this, then this person gets first choice at the boats and the first player marker, and then you go clockwise to choose who wants the next boat, since nobody bid on the other player order. So now everybody simultaneously takes all the tiles they want, and they have to place it in their village connected to their home or one of their other pre-existing tiles, and just make sure that the roads match up or water matches up. Whatever side you lay has to match up. So I cannot play this here, for instance, because yes, the road matches here, but this field cuts off a road. But I could do this. And then I could do that. Now, the next round, summer tile is going to go out. You're doing the same thing, though. You're bidding on, putting workers out there and bidding on the new set of tiles to add to your village at the end of the next round. But I can now play on these tiles as well as the ones on the center of the table. So in future rounds, I could say, you know what? I bought that, key wood, so I could use it, and I'd still get a wood. I would take a wood from the draw, and it goes right there on the piece on the tile that makes it. Normally, if you put a worker in the center of the table, those goods all come to your home tile. If you put a worker on one of your own tiles, the good happens right on that tile. Then what I can do is eventually I can upgrade that tile. As you can see, to upgrade keywood, I need one of these saws. So I can choose to spend the saw on that, and I can upgrade this, and anything that's on it stays on it. I just flip it over to the same orientation it was. And now at the end of the game, it'll be worth 3 points, and I can get 3 wood from now on when I put a worker on there for the rest of the game. And then I just discard the saw I used to the draw pile. It goes face down back into the common area where somebody else can get it later. However, other people can also play on my village. If somebody else sees me do this and they need 3 wood, they can put, since I have a blue worker, it'd have to be a blue worker, same rule applies. They can put 2 blue workers on there, and they can use things in my village. Now, why would you want to use something in somebody else's village? Because, does that help them? Well, it does. They get the workers on here at the end of the round. You get these workers added to your hand behind your blind. So you want people to use your village sometimes. You benefit from it. But they benefit from you upgrading, and they can use them too. So it's kind of a toss-up. You can use their village, they can use your village, and you can use all of the tiles in the center. So there you have a pretty good overview of the basic idea of how you play the game. Now the winter round plays differently than the spring, summer, and fall. And of course there's the scoring at the end. But hopefully this at least gives you an idea of the components, how to set up the game, and the basic gist of how most of the game plays, as well as how you add to your village and how the worker mechanism works, etc. It's a pretty heavy Euro overall. There's quite a bit going on, but like I said, this is a good general overview for the most part. I hope you like what you saw, and like I said, please tune in and look out for our review so you can see our final thoughts on this game. Thanks for watching.